On what should have been a joyous day at my daughter's graduation, my husband shattered our world with a shocking announcement. He was leaving me. This unexpected betrayal forced me to confront my past, reclaim my identity, and embrace a new future. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to join our journey of resilience, healing, and rediscovering hope. My name is Emily, and today was supposed to be one of the happiest days of my life. The sun shone brightly over the high school football field, casting a warm glow on the sea of proud parents and jubilant graduates. I stood among them, clutching my camera, ready to capture every moment of my daughter Sophie's graduation. Her smile sparkled as she walked across the stage, and my heart swelled with pride. I wore a light blue dress, the one Sophie had picked out for me, and I felt a mixture of excitement and nostalgia. This day marked not only her achievement, but also the end of an era, the last moments of her childhood slipping away as she prepared to embark on her journey into adulthood. As the ceremony reached its pinnacle, I caught sight of my husband, David, standing a few feet away. He wore his usual charming smile, but there was something in his eyes that felt off, a flicker of uncertainty that I couldn't quite place. I brushed it aside, focusing on Sophie as she received her diploma, her eyes sparkling with dreams of the future. "Mom, did you see me?" Sophie exclaimed, rushing toward me after the ceremony, her cap slightly askew. "Yes, sweetheart, you were incredible," I replied, pulling her into a tight embrace. I could hardly breathe with pride as I whispered, "I'm so proud of you." As the crowd cheered, David stepped forward, a microphone in hand, a grin plastered on his face. "Can I have everyone's attention, please?" he called out, his voice cutting through the joyful noise. I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. Something about his demeanor felt wrong. "Today is a day of celebration, but I have something important to share," he continued, his gaze sweeping over the crowd. My heart raced as the atmosphere shifted from jubilant to tense. "I've decided to leave Emily." The words hung in the air like a dark cloud, muffling the cheers and applause. Shocked gasps around us. I froze, unable to process what I just heard. Sophie's face fell, confusion clouding her features. "Dad, what are you talking about?" she stammered, her voice small and fragile. David shrugged, a nonchalant expression on his face. "I've found someone else. I can't continue living a lie." As the murmurs of the crowd swelled like a tide, I felt the ground beneath me shift. There was no denying the betrayal in his voice, the callousness that cut deeper than any knife. I stood there, my heart racing, my breath shallow, as I watched my daughter's world begin to crumble before her. I glanced at Sophie, and her pain pierced through me. I had to keep it together, for her. With a heavy heart, I turned to David, who was still basking in the chaos he had created. "You're making a mistake," I said, my voice steady but filled with an undercurrent of anguish. He just laughed, a hollow sound that echoed in the fading celebration. I felt a surge of anger rise within me, mingling with the sadness. As the crowd began to disperse, I reached into my purse and retrieved an envelope I had prepared earlier, containing a letter I had never intended to share today. I thrust it into his hands, my fingers trembling. "Read this," I said, my voice firm. David took the envelope, his expression shifting from surprise to confusion, but he didn't open it. Instead, he turned away, leaving me standing there, heartbroken, with Sophie's confused gaze locked onto mine. "Mom, what just happened?" Sophie asked, her voice shaking. I knelt to her level, forcing a smile through my tears. "It's going to be okay, sweetheart. We'll figure this out together." But as I looked at her, I realized I had no idea how to navigate this new reality. Today was supposed to be a celebration, but it had turned into the beginning of a war, one I was determined to win. The days that followed were a blur, a haze of disbelief and anger. I felt like a ghost in my own home, wandering through the rooms filled with memories that felt tainted by David's betrayal. The laughter and love that once echoed in these walls had been replaced by an unsettling silence, each corner reminding me of the life I thought we had built together. Sophie and I spent more time together, trying to find solace in our shared devastation. We talked late into the night, her fears spilling out like a broken dam. "What does this mean for us? For me?" she asked, her eyes searching mine for answers I didn't have. "I don't know, honey," I replied, my heart aching. "But we'll face it together. You're not alone in this." I could see the weight of the situation pressing down on her. Her once bright smile was replaced by a lingering sadness that haunted her. I wanted to shield her from the harsh realities of our new life, but I knew I couldn't protect her from everything. As I sorted through the remnants of our life together, I stumbled upon old photos, memories frozen in time, filled with laughter and love. I felt pages of our family album. Each picture seemed to mock me, reminding me of the promises we made to one another. One evening, as I sat on the couch, staring blankly at the wall, my phone buzzed. It was Sarah, my best friend, checking in. "Emily, I'm coming over. We need to talk." When she arrived, I could see the concern etched on her face. "You can't keep wallowing in this, Em. You need to reclaim your life," she urged, her voice sharp but caring. "I don't even know who I am anymore," I confessed, my voice breaking. "Start small. What did you love before David? What dreams did you put on hold?" Her words struck a chord within me. I remembered the passion I once had for photography, the way I used to capture life's fleeting moments. It felt like a distant memory, but deep down, the spark was still there. "I used to love taking photos," I admitted, a flicker of excitement igniting within me. "Then do it. Start a project. Get your creativity flowing again. Use that anger, that pain, and turn it into something beautiful," Sarah encouraged, her eyes brightening with enthusiasm. That night, I lay in bed, contemplating her words. Perhaps I could channel my emotions into my art. Maybe I could find a way to reclaim my identity, one snap at a time. As I drifted off to sleep, a sense of determination washed over me. I wouldn't let David's betrayal define me. I would rise from the ashes, stronger and more resolute than before, ready to face whatever came next. The following week, I set out to rediscover my passion for photography. I dusted off my old camera, a gift from David on our 10th anniversary, and took it out of its neglected corner. As I held it in my hands, memories flooded back, of laughter, of sunsets captured in golden hues, and of Sophie's innocent smile framed perfectly against the backdrop of our backyard. Despite the heaviness in my heart, I felt a spark ignite within me. I began to explore our neighborhood, seeking inspiration in the ordinary. The world outside felt vibrant and alive, a contrast to the turmoil within me. I captured the morning dew on the grass, the way the sunlight filtered through the leaves, and the laughter of children playing in the park. Each click of the shutter felt liberating, a release of pent-up emotions that had been bottled inside me for far too long. One afternoon, as I wandered through the local park, I noticed a small group of children playing soccer. Their laughter rang out, echoing in the air. I couldn't help but smile as I watched them, my heart swelling with warmth. I snapped a few photos, focusing on their joy, their carefree spirit. It reminded me of the innocence of childhood, a stark contrast to the reality I was living. Later that evening, I returned home feeling invigorated. I uploaded the photos to my computer, and as I sifted through them, I felt a sense of pride. I had captured moments that were raw and real, a reflection of my own journey toward healing. That night, as Sophie and I sat together on the couch, I shared my photos with her. "Look at these, Sophie. I think I'm starting to find my voice again," I said, enthusiasm bubbling in my chest. She leaned closer, her eyes lighting up as she scrolled through the images. "Mom, these are amazing. You have such a gift," she said, her voice filled with genuine admiration. "Thank you, sweetheart. I'm trying to remember what I love," I replied, a smile creeping onto my face. Sophie paused, her expression shifting to something more serious. "Do you think Dad will come back?" The question hung in the air, heavy with unspoken fears. I took a deep breath, searching for the right words. "I don't know, but I can't wait for him to decide our future. We're going to be okay, you and I." Her gaze softened, and for the first time since the graduation debacle, I saw a glimmer of hope in her eyes. As the days turned into weeks, I continued to immerse myself in photography, exploring different styles and techniques. I even began sharing my work on social media, where friends and family offered supportive comments. It was exhilarating to receive encouragement after feeling so lost. One evening, while scrolling through my notifications, I noticed a message from a local community center. They were organizing an art exhibit and were looking for submissions. My heart raced with excitement and fear. This could be a chance to share my journey with others and perhaps inspire someone who felt lost like I had. Without overthinking, I decided to submit a few of my favorite photographs. It felt like a leap of faith, a declaration of my resilience. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, my mind racing. What if no one liked my work? What if I was just chasing a dream that was never meant to be? I pushed those doubts aside, remembering Sarah's words, "Use your pain to create something beautiful." As I drifted off to sleep, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. I was no longer just a victim of my circumstances. I was an artist reclaiming my life, one photograph at a time. Weeks passed, and my life began to take on a new rhythm. Each day, I explored new areas to photograph, capturing the beauty around me, and each evening, I spent hours editing my photos, pouring my heart into every pixel. I felt a sense of liberation, as if I were shedding the weight of my past and stepping into a brighter future. One afternoon, while I was lost in editing, my phone chimed with a notification. It was an email from the community center regarding the art exhibit. My heart raced as I opened it, and my breath caught in my throat. They had accepted my submission. I jumped up from my chair, a mix of disbelief and joy coursing through me. I quickly called Sophie, unable to contain my excitement. "Sophie, they accepted my photos for the exhibit. I'm going to be featured." "Mom, that's amazing! I knew you could do it," she exclaimed, her voice full of enthusiasm. "When is it?" "It's in a week," I replied, my heart overflowing with pride and anticipation. As the days flew by, I prepared for the exhibit, selecting the best prints and planning my outfit. I wanted to make the day special, not just for myself, but for Sophie as well. She had been my rock through this turbulent time, and I wanted her to celebrate my rebirth with me. The day of the exhibit arrived, and I was both nervous and excited. As I stood in front of my photographs, I felt a sense of vulnerability wash over me. Each image told a story, a chapter of my journey through heartache and healing. As people began to gather, I felt a wave of anxiety crash over me. What if they didn't understand my work? What if they saw only the pain and not the beauty? Sophie stood beside me, her eyes sparkling with pride. "Mom, you've captured so much beauty. Just look at how people are reacting," she said, gesturing towards a group admiring my photos. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to engage with the guests. As I talked about my inspiration and the emotions behind each piece, I began to feel a sense of connection. Their responses were warm and encouraging, and people shared their own stories of struggle and triumph. In that moment, I realized that art had a unique power to heal and unite. I was no longer just a woman scorned. I was an artist, a storyteller, and my voice was finally being heard. Just as the evening was winding down, I noticed David standing at the entrance, his expression unreadable. My heart raced as he approached, uncertainty swirling within me. "Emily," he said, his voice unusually soft, "I came to see your work." I felt a mix of emotions flood through me, anger, sadness, and a flicker of hope. "What do you want, David?" I replied, my tone sharper than I intended. "I wanted to apologize," he said, his gaze dropping to the floor. "I've been doing a lot of thinking, and I realize how much I've hurt you and Sophie. I'm sorry." I took a step back, stunned. "Sorry doesn't change the past, David. You can't just show up here and expect everything to be okay." "I know, but I want to try to make things right," he said, his voice filled with regret. "I've missed you both." Sophie, who had been watching silently, stepped forward. "You hurt us, Dad. It's going to take more than words to fix this." David's face fell, and for a moment, I felt a flicker of empathy. But I quickly reminded myself of the pain he caused. "I appreciate your apology, but it's going to take time. We're on our path to healing, and I won't let anyone derail that." As he nodded, I felt a strange sense of closure. David's presence, once a source of pain, now seemed distant, almost irrelevant to the life I was building. After he left, Sophie and I embraced, the warmth of our bond enveloping us. "You were amazing tonight, Mom. I'm so proud of you," she exclaimed, her voice full of admiration. "Thank you, sweetheart. I'm proud of us. Together, we're stronger than ever," I replied, my heart swelling with love for my daughter. That night, as I lay in bed, I felt a profound sense of peace wash over me. I was no longer defined by my past. I was Emily, the artist, the mother, and the survivor. The journey ahead was still uncertain, but the fire within me was reignited, and I was ready to face whatever came next.
As the days turned into weeks, I felt the excitement of the exhibit linger in the air, fueling my creativity and determination. I continued to explore photography, capturing the world around me while finding joy in the little moments I once overlooked. With each click of the shutter, I felt more empowered, embracing my identity as an artist and a mother. However, the shadow of David's return still loomed over me. He had reached out a few times since the exhibit, each message an echo of his desire for reconciliation. I had been civil, responding with polite indifference, but I wasn't ready to let him back into our lives. Sophie, too, was processing her feelings. One evening, while we were preparing dinner together, she hesitated before speaking. "Mom, do you think we should give Dad another chance? I mean, everyone makes mistakes, right?" I paused, stirring the pasta sauce, my heart heavy with her question. It's not that simple, Sophie. What he did hurt us deeply, and trust is hard to rebuild. I want you to be cautious. But he says he's changed, she insisted, her voice hopeful yet uncertain. Maybe he really means it. I turned to her, searching for the right words. It's okay to want to believe in people, but remember that actions speak louder than words. We'll take it one step at a time. Sophie nodded, but I could see the conflict in her eyes. I wished I could shield her from this pain, but life was complicated, and I knew she had to navigate her own feelings. As the weeks passed, I focused on planning a personal project, a photo series depicting the journey of healing and resilience. I wanted to capture the essence of starting anew, showcasing not only beauty, but also the rawness of emotion. I envisioned a collection that would resonate with anyone who had faced heartache. One Saturday morning, I set out to capture images that represented hope and rebirth. I ventured to local parks, abandoned buildings, and vibrant neighborhoods, seeking inspiration in the contrasts of life. A weathered tree with new buds caught my eye, symbolizing resilience amidst adversity, and I snapped a photo that spoke to my journey. That evening, as I reviewed the day's work, I felt a sense of accomplishment wash over me. I decided to share a few of the photos online, accompanied by a heartfelt caption about healing and renewal. The response was overwhelming. Friends and even strangers left comments expressing their admiration and sharing their own stories of resilience. It felt incredible to connect with others through my art, and for the first time since David's announcement, I felt a sense of belonging. But as the positive energy filled my heart, a message popped up on my phone. David wanted to meet. My stomach tightened with anxiety. "What are you going to do?" Sophie asked, noticing my hesitation as I stared at the screen. "I don't know," I admitted. Part of me wants to confront him and set boundaries, but I'm also scared that he'll try to manipulate the situation. "Just remember, you're stronger than you think," she encouraged, her eyes filled with unwavering support. That evening, I decided to meet David, determined to communicate my feelings clearly. I chose a small cafe that we used to frequent, the familiar sense of coffee and pastries swirling in the air as I entered. David was already seated at a corner table, his expression a mix of nervousness and determination. I took a deep breath as I approached, my heart pounding in my chest. "Emily," he said, standing up as I arrived, "thank you for meeting me." I nodded, taking a seat across from him. "Let's get to the point, David. I don't want to waste time with pleasantries." He nodded, his eyes filled with regret. "I know I messed up. I've been seeing a therapist, and I'm trying to understand why I made those choices. I want to make amends." I held up my hand, cutting him off. Making amends isn't just about saying sorry. It's about actions, David. You hurt us, and it's going to take time for me to trust you again. "I get that," he said, his voice earnest. "I want to be a better man for you. I miss both of you. Can we at least start by rebuilding our relationship?" I felt a mix of emotions swirling inside me, anger, sadness, and a flicker of hope. "You need to understand that this is on our terms. I won't allow you to disrupt the progress we're making." He nodded, a flicker of understanding in his eyes. "I promise, I'll respect your boundaries. I just want a chance to show you I can change." As I looked into his eyes, I saw a glimmer of sincerity that I hadn't seen before. But I needed to be cautious. "We'll take it slow. Right now, my priority is Sophie and myself." After our conversation, I left the cafe feeling mixed emotions. I wasn't sure if I could trust David again, but there was a part of me that wanted to believe he could change. That night, I shared the details of our meeting with Sophie. "I'm not sure what it means yet, but I think he's trying to make an effort," I said, my voice tinged with uncertainty. Sophie listened intently. "Just be careful, Mom. I don't want you to get hurt again." "I promise, I'll keep my guard up," I reassured her, knowing that healing was a journey and we were still on the path to recovery. As I lay in bed that night, I felt a mix of anxiety and determination. I knew the road ahead would be challenging, but I was ready to face it head-on. My heart might still carry the scars of betrayal, but I was no longer defined by them. I was Emily, an artist, a survivor, and a mother ready to reclaim her life.
The days that followed my meeting with David were a whirlwind of emotions. I felt a renewed sense of purpose as I focused on my photography project, channeling my feelings into each shot I captured. Every photograph became a testament to my journey, a celebration of resilience and strength. Sophie, too, seemed to find comfort in my renewed passion. She often joined me on my outings, her youthful energy infectious as she shared her own creative ideas. We would spend hours laughing, exploring the world through our lenses, and capturing moments that felt full of life. One Saturday, we decided to visit a beautiful botanical garden nearby. The air was fragrant with blooming flowers, and the sun cast a golden hue over everything. As we wandered through the paths, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. I snapped photos of vibrant petals, delicate butterflies, and Sophie's joyful expressions as she twirled among the blooms. "Mom, look at this one!" she exclaimed, pointing to a particularly stunning flower. "It's like it's dancing in the breeze." I captured the moment, her laughter ringing in the air, filling my heart with warmth. "You have such an eye for beauty, Sophie. Keep that spirit alive," I replied, feeling grateful for our bond. As we sat on a bench, scrolling through the photos we had taken, I felt a sense of connection, not just to Sophie, but to myself. The art I was creating was not just a way to cope. It was a way to express my truth, my journey, and my hopes for the future. Later that week, I received an unexpected message from the community center. They wanted to feature my series in a larger exhibition, highlighting local artists who focused on themes of resilience and recovery. My heart raced with excitement. This was a chance to share my story on a broader stage. "Mom, this is amazing!" Sophie squealed when I shared the news. "You have to prepare a speech." I chuckled, knowing public speaking was never my strong suit. "I'll do my best. It's just about sharing my journey, right?" As the exhibition date approached, I felt a mix of anticipation and nerves. I spent hours preparing, crafting my thoughts into a narrative that would resonate with the audience. I wanted to convey not only my pain, but also my hope and the strength I had found in myself. On the day of the exhibition, the gallery buzzed with energy. I arrived early to set up my photos, carefully arranging them to create a cohesive story. The walls transformed into a visual representation of my journey, each image a chapter in the narrative of healing. As the guests began to arrive, I felt my heart race. I greeted familiar faces and met new people who were drawn to my work. The conversations flowed, each interaction a reminder of the power of connection through art. When it was time for my speech, I stood at the podium, my hands trembling slightly. The room hushed, and I took a deep breath, looking out at the faces before me. "Thank you all for being here," I began, my voice steadying as I spoke. When I started this journey, I had no idea how much I would learn about resilience and the healing power of art. Each photograph you see represents not just moments of beauty, but also a journey through pain and discovery. As I shared my story, I felt a wave of emotions wash over me. I spoke about my struggles, my heartbreak, and the moments of clarity that had guided me toward healing. The audience listened intently, and I could see their empathy reflected in their eyes. I hope that through my work, you can find inspiration in your own journeys, I concluded, my heart swelling with gratitude. We all face challenges, but it's how we rise from them that defines us. The applause that followed echoed in the gallery, filling me with a sense of accomplishment and validation.
I had shared my truth, and in doing so, I had empowered not only myself, but also others who had faced their own battles. After the speech, I mingled with guests, receiving praise and support that lifted my spirits even higher. I felt a sense of belonging, a connection to a community that understood the power of healing through art. As the evening came to a close, I spotted David standing at the edge of the gallery, watching me with a pensive expression. Despite my mixed feelings about him, I felt a flicker of compassion. As I approached him, I took a deep breath. "Thank you for coming," I said, my voice steady. "He had to see you," he replied, his tone earnest. "I'm proud of you, Emily. You've come so far." "It's been a journey," I said, my gaze unwavering, "and I'm not looking back." He nodded, a look of understanding crossing his face. "I get that. I realize now how much I took for granted. I want to support you and Sophie, even if it's from a distance. I appreciate his honesty, but I knew my path was my own. Just remember, actions speak louder than words. I want you to be a part of Sophie's life, but it's going to take time." He understood. He'd be there when I was ready. As he walked away, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. I was no longer bound by the past. I had found my voice, my strength, and the courage to move forward. That night, as I lay in bed, I reflected on the journey I had taken. I was no longer just Emily, the woman betrayed. I was Emily, the artist, the mother, and the survivor ready to embrace whatever the future held.
The exhibition had been a turning point for me, but as the days passed, I struggled to maintain the momentum. The excitement of sharing my work faded into the routine of daily life, and with it came moments of doubt. I found myself questioning whether I could truly move on from David's betrayal and build a life defined by my own choices. Sophie, noticing my shifts in mood, suggested a weekend getaway. "Let's go somewhere new, Mom. We need some adventure," she said, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. I hesitated at first, but the idea of escaping our familiar surroundings was enticing. "Okay, where do you want to go?" "How about the beach? We haven't been in ages," she replied, bouncing on her toes. The beach sounded perfect, a place to breathe, to reflect, and to reconnect. That Friday afternoon, we packed our bags and hit the road, the excitement bubbling between us like a fizzy soda. As we drove, the landscape shifted from urban sprawl to rolling hills, and finally to the vast expanse of the ocean. When we arrived, the salty breeze whipped through my hair, and the sound of waves crashing against the shore enveloped us. I felt the tension in my shoulders begin to melt away. "Mom, look!" Sophie called out, running toward the water. "Let's go!" We spent the day basking in the sun, splashing in the waves, and building sandcastles. Laughter echoed as we chased each other, our worries forgotten for a brief moment. I felt alive again, the joy of motherhood reigniting a fire within me that I thought had dimmed. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, we sat on the beach, the warmth of the sand beneath us. I pulled out my camera and captured the breathtaking view, the moment forever frozen in time. "Sophie," I began, my voice soft as I turned to her, "I've been thinking about Dad a lot lately. How do you feel about everything?" She paused, her gaze fixed on the horizon. "I don't know, Mom. I want to believe he can change, but I'm scared he'll hurt us again." "I understand," I replied, my heart aching for her. "It's okay to feel that way. It's a lot for us to process." "It just feels so confusing," she admitted. "I love him, but I don't want him to disrupt our lives again." I nodded, feeling the weight of her words. "Just remember, it's our life, and we have the power to decide what that looks like. We'll handle this together, whatever happens." As the sun dipped below the horizon, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. I had faced my fears, shared my truth, and now I was ready to confront the past once and for all. The next morning, I woke up early, the sun just beginning to rise over the ocean. I grabbed my camera and stepped outside, feeling the cool morning air on my skin. As I walked along the shore, I reflected on my journey, the pain, the betrayal, and the resilience that had emerged from it all. Suddenly, I heard a familiar voice behind me. It was David, standing a few feet away, looking out at the ocean. My heart raced, a mix of surprise and apprehension flooding my senses. "What are you doing here?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "I needed to talk to you," he replied, his expression serious. I took a deep breath, the moment feeling surreal. "What do you want, David?" "I know I've hurt you, and I'm sorry for everything," he said, his voice earnest. "I've been reflecting on my actions, and I realize how much I've taken for granted. I want to be a better father for Sophie and a better man for you." I felt a surge of emotions, anger, sadness, and a glimmer of hope. You can't just show up and expect everything to be okay. Trust takes time, and we've been through a lot. "I understand that," he said, his eyes pleading. "I'm willing to do whatever it takes to earn that trust back. I want to be part of your lives, but I know it has to be on your terms." The ocean waves crashed behind us, and for a moment, I felt the weight of the past hanging in the air. "It's not that simple, David. You can't just say the right words and expect them to change everything." "I know," he replied, his voice filled with sincerity. "But I'm committed to showing you that I can be better. I'm starting therapy, and I'm working on myself. I want to prove that I can be the father Sophie deserves." I looked into his eyes, searching for the truth, the sincerity behind his words. "You have to understand that it won't happen overnight. Sophie and I are still healing, and we need space to do that." "I get it," he said, nodding slowly. "I just hope you can give me a chance." As I stood there, the waves crashing around us, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, there was a possibility for redemption. "We can take it slow," I said cautiously, "but you need to respect our boundaries." "I will," he promised, a hint of relief washing over his face. As he walked away, I felt a mix of emotions swirling within me. It was a small step, but it was a step nonetheless. I returned to Sophie, who was waiting on the beach, her eyes filled with concern. "Mom, what happened?" she asked, her voice laced with worry. "He wants to try to make things right," I said, my heart heavy yet hopeful. She nodded, her expression thoughtful. "I just want us to be happy, Mom." "We will be, sweetheart." I pulled her into an embrace, feeling the warmth of her love enveloping me. As we sat on the beach, watching the waves roll in, I felt a renewed sense of hope. The future was still uncertain, but I was ready to face it, one step at a time.
Returning home from our weekend getaway, I felt a sense of clarity I hadn't experienced in months. The ocean breeze had washed over me, and the weight of my emotions felt lighter. Sophie and I settled back into our routine, but the conversations we had during our trip lingered in my mind. David's presence in our lives was still a delicate situation, but I was determined to approach it with caution and openness. He had reached out several times since our conversation at the beach, sending thoughtful messages about his progress in therapy and expressing his desire to reconnect with Sophie. I appreciated his efforts, but knew it would take time to rebuild trust. One afternoon, as I prepared dinner, Sophie entered the kitchen, her face bright with excitement. "Mom, I have an idea! Let's invite Dad over for dinner. I think it might help us all talk things out." I paused, chopping vegetables, my mind racing. "Are you sure about that, sweetheart? It's a big step." "I think it could be good for us," she replied, determination shining in her eyes. "We can set boundaries and see how he behaves. It's important for us to try, right? Okay, I said, weighing her words, but we need to be clear about what we expect from him. This isn't just a casual dinner, it's a chance to establish some ground rules. Sophie nodded enthusiastically, and we spent the evening planning the meal and discussing what we wanted to convey to David. I felt a mixture of anxiety and hope as we prepared for his arrival. On the night of the dinner, I set the table with care, wanting to create a welcoming atmosphere. The aroma of roasted chicken filled the house, mingling with the scent of fresh herbs. Sophie buzzed around the kitchen, adding her special touch to the meal, her excitement infectious. When the doorbell rang, my heart raced. I exchanged a glance with Sophie, who nodded encouragingly. I opened the door, and there stood David, holding a bouquet of flowers, a nervous smile on his face. "Hi, Emily," he said, stepping inside. "Thank you for inviting me." "Thank you for coming," I replied, gesturing for him to join us at the table. As we sat down to eat, the atmosphere was tense but hopeful. Sophie led the conversation, her youthful energy breaking the ice. "Dad, what have you been doing in therapy?" David leaned forward, his expression earnest. "I've been working on understanding my behavior and why I made the choices I did. It's been eye-opening, and I want to be better for both of you." I watched Sophie's face as she processed his words. She was searching for sincerity, and I could see the wheels turning in her mind. "Do you really mean it?" she asked, her voice steady but laced with vulnerability. "I do mean it," he replied, his voice filled with conviction. "I know it's going to take time, but I'm committed to making things right. I want to be a part of your lives, but I understand if you need space." Sophie and I exchanged glances, and I felt a mixture of hope and caution. "It's going to take actions, David. We need to see that you're serious," I said, my tone firm but fair. "I understand," he replied, his eyes filled with sincerity. "I'll do whatever it takes to rebuild that trust." As we finished dinner, the conversation flowed more easily. We laughed and shared memories, the tension gradually easing as we navigated the complexities of our relationship. It was a small step, but it felt significant. After dinner, Sophie excused herself to do homework, leaving David and me alone for a moment. I took a deep breath, ready to address the unspoken issues between us. "David," I began, my voice steady, "I need to be honest. Rebuilding trust is going to take time. You hurt us deeply, and I don't want to see that happen again." "I know," he said, his expression serious. "I'm committed to proving to both of you that I can be better. I've let you down before, but I want to change that." I appreciated his honesty, but I knew it was just the beginning. Actions speak louder than words, and I hope you understand that. Sophie and I are on our own journey, and we need to prioritize our healing. "I understand," he replied, nodding slowly. As I watched him, I felt a flicker of hope. This wasn't a fairy tale reconciliation, but it was a step toward rebuilding our family. The following weeks, David made a concerted effort to be present in our lives. He began attending family events, participating in conversations with Sophie, and respecting our boundaries. I observed from a distance, cautiously optimistic yet mindful of the past. One evening, after David had left, Sophie turned to me, her expression thoughtful. "Mom, I think I see a change in him. It feels different." "It does," I replied, my heart swelling with pride for both of us. "But we have to stay vigilant. We've come so far, and I don't want to lose that progress." As I continued to pursue my passion for photography, I found a renewed sense of purpose. I began showcasing my work online, and the connections I formed with others inspired me to keep pushing forward. I was no longer just Emily, the woman who had been betrayed. I was Emily, an artist, a mother, and a woman reclaiming her life. Months later, as summer faded into fall, I stood outside on our porch, camera in hand, capturing the beauty of the changing leaves. Sophie joined me, her laughter brightening the crisp air. "Mom, look at this one," she exclaimed, pointing to a vibrant red tree.
I snapped a photo, feeling a rush of joy as I captured the moment. "You have such an eye for beauty, Sophie. I'm so proud of you." As we stood there, I realized that our journey had brought us closer together. We were stronger than before, resilient in the face of adversity. As the sun set behind the trees, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, I felt a sense of peace settle around us. The future was still uncertain, but I knew we would face it together, hand in hand. With each click of the shutter, I captured not only images, but also the essence of our journey, one of healing, growth, and the unwavering bond of family. And in that moment, I finally understood. The past had shaped me, but it would not define me. I was ready to embrace the future, whatever it may hold, with open arms.